Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be playing our first game of Heavy Gear Blitz on the channel. This will be an 80-point game, 80 TV, and it will be Nucoal versus Peace River. So, it'll be two groups for each side, and so with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the rosters and the objectives. Alright, so for the Nucoal, we have 4 chasseurs, 2 are flechettes, and then the other 2 are just regular chasseurs. And then this one here is the combat group leader, and he's been upgraded with the comms and ECCM. And then the second group, we have 2 Chevalier hammers in the back. One of them is the commanding officer, that one there. And then we have 2 Jerboa flashes. And then the objectives I chose is the hold objective, where I have to hold 2 objectives on the battlefield, and I place them here and here. And then the second objective is, what is it? Wipe them out. Where I have to wipe out another combat group, which I designated for the warriors on the Peace River side. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Peace River force. Alright, and here we have the Peace River force. For group 1, we have 2 Scourge warriors. This one with the 1 antenna is the combat group leader. And then we got 2 Vanguard Scourges, or Vanguard warriors. And then their objective was, I believe it was flags, where each combat group will place a flag and try to keep it on the battlefield. And then over here we have 2 skirmishers upgraded with chieftain and tag, and then 2 demolisher crusader 4s with the upgrade of crusader 5. And then this is the commanding officer. And then the other objective is wipe them out as well. And their designated target is the chasseurs combat group. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with deployment and begin the battle. Alright, we have deployed our units. I have 2 chasseurs over here on my right flank with a Jerboa, Chevalier in the middle, Jerboa, chasseurs, and another Chevalier on my left flank. And then for Peace River, we have Crusader 4 and a skirmisher on her right flank, the warriors in the middle, and then the other Crusader and skirmisher on her left flank. So with that, we'll go ahead and get ready for initiative. And so this will be our second game actually playing. So if we make any mistakes, make sure to let us know so we can correct them in the future. Alright, let's roll for initiative. Nope. And a 5, that'll do it for Peace River round 1. Alright, first things first, she activated her group leader for for the warriors. She did a combat move and then planted the flag outside of the 12-inch deployment zone, correct?
Yeah.
Alright. Moving on. Next unit or model.
Let's go with this guy. He is going to, what do you call it? Top speed? Is it?
Yep. For double movement.
Yeah.
Alright. Top speed to the barrier and then taking a shot.
Yeah, if I can. Yeah.
Alright, let's take some measurements. Alright, the warrior is going to shoot at my chasseur with the MAC, and she's going with precise. So, I need piloting skill of 4, she needs a gunnery skill of 4. So, that's a 6 for me. And a 4 for her, becoming a 5, which is a miss.
Okay.
And then we move on to the next model. Alright, Warrior Scourge moves up combat speed and then is going to fire the rocket pod into my chasseur. So, piloting skill 4, gunnery skill 4. And that's a 5 for me. And a 6 for the warrior, so that'll be a 1 plus your damage.
My damage is a 7.
7.
AP 1.
So 8. Okay, minus 6. So I take 2 damage on my flechette. And then AoE hitting the other one. That is a 6 becoming a 7. And a miss for her. Alright. And then we move on to the next one. Alright, Vanguard Warrior does a combat speed movement up to that barrier, and then is going to shoot at my injured flechette. So, and then she's doing, it is precise. Or no, you went burst, right?
Burst.
Alright. And it is not an optimal range, so you're doing 2 dice. Piloting skill 4, it is a miss. 5, 6. I'm going to spend a command point to reroll, which will be a 4. I'll take it. It's a 5, 6. So 2 damage.
For the Vanguard, it's 7.
7, 8, 9, minus 6. Taking 3 damage, bringing it to damage 5. It is now crippled. Alright. Moving on. That's the last of your warrior group?
Yes.
Alright, and then we move on to Nucoal. Or Nucoal. Alright, so first I'm going to activate my chasseur group. So we're going to activate the crippled one. He's going to do a combat movement, combat speed behind the building. And then we're going to see if we can fire indirect rocket pods at one of her warriors. Alright, rocket pod going into her warrior here. So, needing a 4. That is a miss. And you don't even got to roll.
Okay.
Alright, moving on. We'll go to the next one. And we'll see what happens. Alright, chasseur combat leader does top speed to the barrier here. And then is going to fire into her Scourge warrior. And then I'm using burst. So this will be 3 dice versus her 3 defense dice. Needing 4s. That's 4, 5 versus 5 as well. So that is a margin of success of 0. So then we got on a 4 plus, I do 1 damage. So 1 damage to her. And then move on to the next one. Next, my flechette did combat speed forward and is going to fire a frag shot at her Vanguard here. So this will be 3 dice for her. Hitting 4s. That's 5, 6. And a 4 for her. So that's 2 plus 6 for a total of 8 damage. So you take 2. Oh, you're spinning a command point?
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead. So that'd be a 5, 6. Which mine was 6 as well, right?
I believe so.
Alright. So that would be a margin of success of 0. So you take 1 point of damage. And moving on. Alright, last Ashore moves up to that objective to hold it, and then is going to fire into her Scourge, or her Vanguard. So this will be 3 dice versus 3, needing 4 to hit. That's 5, 6 versus 5. So that's 1 plus 6, for a total of 7. Armor 6, take 1 more point of damage. And then we move on to Peace River's activations. Alright, first the Crusader did a top speed movement behind this little mountain here, and then planted a flag. And then she activated her Skirmisher, which did a top speed movement, and then is going to fire the rifle into my flechette over here. So, pilot skill of 4, gunnery skill of 4 as well. Ooh, that's a great roll. 6, 7, 8 for me, and a 4 for her, which will miss.
That was good.
And then we move on to her last 2 remaining models on her right flank. Alright, her Skirmisher does top speed movement in this direction, and then is going to do an indirect fire with a rocket pod at my chasseur out in the open. So, 4 for me. That's a 6 and a 7. Versus a miss. And then we move on to her Crusader model. Alright, Crusader does a top speed movement towards behind this mountain, and then is going to fire the rocket pods into my chasseur. That is a 6 for me, and a 5 for her, which will miss. And then we move on to the Nucoal's activation. Alright, my Jerboa did a combat speed movement behind this rock, and then is going to do a forward observation on the Crusader, which she then does her free reaction to retaliate against me. So we'll go ahead and do the electronic warfare test first. I need 4s, which I just barely got it. So that is now, I got forward observation on the Crusader, and then the hammer will react with a fire mission, but before that she's going to retaliate to try to hit my Jerboa with the stun gun, which misses. Alright, and then we move on to the hammer, which will react to fire mission. Alright, fire mission into the Crusader. This will be 2 dice, gunnery skill of 4 versus her 2 dice. It's a 5 for me, and a 4 for her, so that hits. I'm also using the AoE weapon, so that is a margin of success of 1 plus 9, so 10 damage versus armor 8, correct?
Yeah, let me check. Yep, armor 8.
Alright, so the Crusader takes 2 damage, and then 1 die to try to hit the Skirmisher. Versus your 2. It's a 5 for me. And a 4 for you, so that hits with a +1. Versus, so that's 10 as well. And the Skirmisher has armor 6.
Yes.
So you take 4 damage to the Skirmisher. That was a good hit.
This is last.
No, it's not.
No.
Nope.
And he'll take 4.
Okay.
Do I want to reroll that? I'll take it.
Alright. Moving on. We'll then go to the other Jerboa and see if we can't replicate that. Alright, Jerboa moves up towards the barricade and is going to call a forward observation on the Scourge. And then her Crusader is going to retaliate with its reaction. So do an electronic warfare test, which fails. I'm gonna spend my last command point to reroll that, that'll do it. Getting off the fire mission, so then she's gonna do retaliation with 1 die. It's a 4 for me, and a 3 is a miss. All right, and then we do fire mission with the field cannon into the Scourge. This will be 3 dice because I have line of sight with the blast weapon using AoE. 3 dice for you. And that's just a 4. And a 6. So that misses the direct target. And then we'll do the other one with the AoE. That's a 6. And a 6 as well. With a margin of success of 0. Does it have any AP? No, it does not. So on a 4+, I deal 1 damage. Alright. And then moving on to the Chevalier's actual turns. Alright, Chevalier activates. It is going to brace and then fire the heavy rifle at her Scourge. So this will be 3 dice. Okay. Needing a 4, that misses completely. Don't even need to re-roll that. Alright, moving on to the next Chevalier. It will also brace and take a shot at her Vanguard. So this will be 3 dice versus her 3 dice. That is a 5 versus a 7. Alright, that misses as well. And with that, we go to round 2. Alright, start of round 2, roll for initiative. That is a miss for me, and a 5 and a 4, so Peace River will go first. Alright, Crusader does a top speed towards my Jerboa and is going to shoot it with a snub gun. And then I'm going to react by evading with that. So, needing 4s. Ooh, that's a 6, 7, 8 for me. And a 4 for you, so that misses. Unfortunately, I wasted my reaction. And then we move on to our next model. Alright, Skirmisher moves forward, combat speed, and then is going to fire into my Chasseur. So, this will be 4s to dodge. That's a 6. Versus her 4, which comes 5 with precise, which is still a miss. And then we move on to our next models. Alright, next up the Crusader does a top speed movement around the mountain and is going to fire into my Chasseur with the snub gun. So, needing 4s, and I did spend my reaction to evade, which once again doesn't look like I needed it. So that'll be a 6 versus my 7, which is a miss. AP 3, right?
Yeah.
So it might do damage. Let me double check those rules. Alright, so the AP doesn't apply because it was a miss. So moving on, the Skirmisher does combat movement speed up and then is going to fire the Chasseur as well with the rifle. That is a 5 for me and a 6, 7 for the Skirmisher. So that's a margin of success of 2 plus the damage.
The damage is 6.
6, so it's 8 minus 6 for 2 damage to the Chasseur. And then with that, that's the rest of our activations for our first group, and we move on to Nucoal. Alright, I activated the Chasseur group, so the group leader is going to brace and fire at the Skirmisher, and then she's retaliating with her Crusader. So, and I'm using the precise stat for the weapon. Oof, both misses.
Don't you get a 4 though? For that 3?
I don't think so because I need a 4 to actually hit.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so yeah, that misses. I guess I could spend a command point. Might as well. And then that'll be 5, 6, and then 7. So you don't have any. Do you want to spend a command point as well? No? You're going to take a lot of damage.
Okay.
Okay, so 4 versus my 7. So it's a margin of success of 3 plus the damage of 6. So it's 9 minus armor.
Armor is 5 for
5?
skirmisher, yeah.
Okay. So 4 damage.
Okay.
Trying to math here. Yeah. So I think it's just 4 damage to the skirmisher,
Oh no.
which makes it crippled.
Yes.
And then we move on to the next model. Alright, next the Crusader's Retaliation on the Chasseur. And that's a miss. Bad miss for me. And a 5 for her. Margin success of 5. Plus the damage.
Ooh, 9.
9. That's 14.
AP 3.
Alright, with 14 damage, that Chasseur gets annihilated. And then we move on to my other flechette Chasseur, which will peek out around the corner and try to finish off that skirmisher. So shotgun. This will be using a frag, which gives it a plus 2d6 on the attack roll versus your 1 defense because you are crippled. That's a 6, 7, 8 for me versus 5, so margin of success of 3 plus 6, so 9 damage versus armor 5.
Yep.
Another 4 damage to the skirmisher.
Oh man, he's dead.
Which will take out the skirmisher. That'll be a wreck. So we'll go ahead and mark that one. And then we'll move on to the next model. Alright, next, my flechette Chasseur moved up combat speed and is going to do a frag shot into her vanguard. So those will be 4 dice, needing 4s to hit. Ooh, and all those hit. So
That's
6,
nice.
7, 8, 9 versus 6, 7, 8. Margin of success of 1 plus the damage of 6. So 7 damage minus armor of 6. So you take 1 damage to the vanguard. And then that is my last model in that group. So we move on to Peace River's turn. Alright, Warrior Scourge moves up combat speed and is going to fire into my Chasseur, who has partial cover. That's 5, 6 versus 5, so that misses. Do you have precise?
No, I have AP1.
Nope, okay. That'll miss. And then we move on to the next model. Alright, next up, the Vanguard here is going to brace and fire into my Chasseur. That's a 6, 7 for me. And 6, 7, 8, 9 for her. That's margin of success of 2. Plus the damage.
His damage is 7.
7. So 9. Damage total of 9 minus 6. For 3 damage to my Chasseur. Alright. Moving on. Alright, next up, Vanguard pushes forward with combat speed, and they're going to fire into the Chasseur as well, using burst. That's a 4 for me. Oof. 6, 7, 8. Oof, that's a margin of success of 4 plus damage
7 damage.
7. So that's an 11 minus 6. That equals 5, which will take out that chasseur. And it will become a wreck. Alright, moving on to our last model. Alright, lastly, the Warrior Scourge does top speed movement from the building out into the open. Is going to fire into my Jerboa. She's suboptimal range, but she is burst. And it's a 5 for me, and a 6 for her. Margin of success of 1. Damage.
Damage is 7.
For the light bazooka?
Yeah, for the LBZ.
Okay, 7. So 8 minus armor of 4. So that's 4 damage to the Jerboa. It is now crippled. Alright, and then with that we go to Nucoal's activation. Alright, first up, my Jerboa does combat movement towards her flag, and then it is going to fire into this Scourge Warrior in the back arc. So this will be 2d6 versus her 2d6 defense. That's a 4 for me and a 5 for her. But I do have precise, which makes it a 5. So margin of success of 0. And then on 4 plus, you take 1 damage. Alright, moving on. We'll do the next Jerboa, which will... wait, did I evade with that one?
Yeah.
I did, so it cannot activate. Alright, moving on. We'll just go with the Chevalier here. And I'll think about what I do with it. Alright, Chevalier is going to fire its heavy rifle into her Scourge. So this will be precise. It's in precise range. So 2d6. Needing them 4s. That's a 6, 7, 8 with precise. And that's a 6, 7. Margin of success of 1. Plus a damage of 8. So that'll be, so it's 9 minus 6. Which results in 3 damage.
6, 7. Okay.
So 3 damage to that one brings it to 5. It is crippled. And then we move on to my other Chevalier over here. And we'll see what it decides to do. Alright, Chevalier does a combat speed movement around the building and is going to fire into her Crusader with the field gun using AoE Blast. So 2d6.
I think I get a good free reaction with him.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll retaliate. No, I'm gonna evade.
Gonna evade?
Yeah.
Alright. So you get a free reroll.
Okay. Just 2 die?
Yes. That's a 4, 5. Reroll. With a 4, so that's a 5, so it's a margin of success of 1. Plus damage 9, so that's 10 damage versus armor of 8.
Yep.
So you take 2 damage, bringing it to 4. And then trying to hit the skirmisher as well with the blast. This will be 1 die, since the skirmisher is crippled. And that's a miss. You roll a 5, yeah, I'm not going to reroll. Alright, and with that, that brings us to the end of round. Oh wait, no, we're going to do retaliate. This will be, alright, are you crippled?
What is he on?
4.
He's on 4.
I think he's crippled.
He hasn't hit the hall yet, but he, I mean, he still got all of the S bosses?
No. Hall goes first, and then structure.
Oh, okay.
So, he is crippled.
Yes, he is.
So just 1 die. 6. Alright, so it's a miss. With that, and then we go to do round 3. Alright, start of round 3. First things first, we'll do the initiative roll. That's a 4 for me. And 4 for you. Becoming a 5. So it is Peace River, first activation. Alright, starting off with the Scourge. Gonna brace and fire into my Jerboa. So that's a 6 for me. And nothing for the Scourge. Spinning a command point.
Yeah.
Alright, so roll an electronic warfare test to give an order.
2 die?
Yep, because we haven't been doing that.
What do I need?
6. Nope. Alright. Actually, I suppose you could do it with the, you rolled 2 1s anyways.
Yeah.
So it fails. Alright. And then we move on to the next one. Alright, next Jerboa, or not Jerboa, but Vanguard Warrior is going to fire into my Jerboa. She's bracing and doing the burst fire with her max. So this will be 4 dice versus my 1. That is a 2. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and re-roll that. So that is 6, 7, 8 plus damage.
Damage is 7.
7, so that Jerboa gets wiped out. Alright. And then we'll move on to her next warrior. Alright, next up, this Scourge is gonna do top speed and then fire into my Chasseur. So, and then she's using burst. That is a 5, 6 for me. And just a 4 for her, so that misses. And then we'll move on to her last Vanguard model right here. Last Vanguard model, top speeds up to my Chasseur and is going to fire with burst. Oof. So that's a 5 for her. I'm going to attempt to do a command point. So we'll do the Chevalier, which has a 6. Let me double check. Alright, Chevalier has calm, so he doesn't need to roll to try to give the order. So I'm just going to spend my 1 command point to re-roll for a 6, which is enough to not take the hit. And then we go to Nucoal's activation. Alright, first things first, my Jerboa goes top speed to get to the flag, and then use its action to remove it. And then moving on to the next model, which will be my command officer Chevalier, which will fire into her Crusader with my field gun. So this will be, let me double check the rules. Alright, heavy field gun, or light field gun, using the AoE into the Crusader. I am bracing. Those will be 3 dice versus her 1 for being crippled, and she is going to use her reaction to evade. So it's a 5, 6 for me. 6 for her. So AoE 3 blast. Nope. So margin success is 0. So on a 4+ you take 1 damage. Nope, no damage. And then it's 2 dice against her skirmisher for 0, 1. And that's a fail. It's a miss. A complete miss on the Chevalier. Alright, moving on. Alright, last one in that group is this Chevalier, who's going to fuse the field gun into her skirmisher. This will be blast as well, or the AoE. So it's my 3, and I'm bracing versus your 1. That's 5, 6, 7 versus a 2. So that one will be completely annihilated. Unless you want to spin a command point and re-roll. No? Alright. That one's gone. And then 2 dice versus your 2 with the AoE.
Okay.
And that's a miss. Alright. And then that is the end of Nucoal's turn. We go to Beast Razor activation. Alright. Crusader does a combat move into melee with my Chasseur. So this is her Brawl 1. 3 dice versus my 2. Needing 4s. Ooh, that's a 6, 7 for me. And a 4, 5 for you. No precise or anything like that?
No.
Nope, so that is a miss. Unless you want to spin a command point.
I do want to try, yeah.
Okay. All 3?
All 3?
And that was worse. That is a miss. Alright, moving on. Alright, next up. Other Crusader moves up. And then is gonna do the medium vibroblade into my Chasseur. So this is 1 dice, plus 1 for Brawl, and plus 1 for my back arc. So 3 dice for her, since you're crippled. And then my 2 dice for defense. Ooh, that's a 7. And a complete miss on her. I am lucking out so far. And then we move on to her last model, which is her Skirmisher. Alright, rocket pods from the Skirmisher into my Chasseur. So this is 1 die for her versus my 3. That's a 4, 5, and a 3, which is a miss. And that ends it for Peace River's activations. And we move on to Nucoal. Alright, first up, my Chasseur is going to turn around and strike her Crusader. I am braced, so I get an extra die. And then she is crippled, but she does have Brawl first, so she'll have 2 dice. It's a 6 and a 7 for me, and a 5 plus 1, so 6. Margin of success of 1. With damage of 7, so it's 8 damage. And then armor 8, right?
Yep.
So it's 0, but I do have AP of 2, so you take 1 damage.
What's he on right now?
4. So here's a 5. You got 2 structure left. Alright. Next we'll move on to my last Chasseur over here, who will be doing the same thing. Except this time, I'll be rolling 2 dice versus your 3. Alright. 6, 7 for me. And 6, 7 for her. For a margin of success of 0. AP 2, so you take 1 damage. And then we move on to round 4, the last round. Alright, round 4 initiative. Nothing for me, nothing for you. Reroll. That's a 5 versus a 5. Reroll. And a 6 versus a 5. Nucoal gets first activation, and I'll have to think about which one to activate first. Alright, your boa activates first, going top speed to the flag, and then uses its action to pull that flag up. Taking care of that objective, and then we'll move on to one of the Chevaliers. Alright, this Chevalier will fire its heavy rifle into her Skirmisher, which is crippled. So it's 2 dice versus 1, and it is precise. That's a miss. Also a miss. I'm going to spend my 1 CP to reroll. For a 5, 6. Any CP for you?
No.
No? Alright, that Skirmisher gets annihilated. And then we'll move on to my last one. Alright, Chevalier goes top speed towards this objective marker to contest it and keep control of it. And then it's going to fire the heavy rifle into her Vanguard. This will be two dice with precise versus her 2. That's a 4, becomes a 5. She rolled double 6s, so that will miss. And then we move on to Peace River activation. Alright, Vanguard Warrior goes top speed and is going to fire into my Chasseur from the back. So that's a +1 die. And using burst as well. And that's a horrible miss. And that'll be enough to wipe out that Chasseur, unfortunately. Alright. Next model. Next up, this squad leader warrior will go top speed around the building and fire its bazooka into my Chevalier, which will use its free reaction to retaliate. So, and she's using burst. That's a 4 for me versus a 6, 7 for her. So 7 minus 4.
My damage is
3 damage.
7 damage.
7, so that's 10 damage minus an armor of 8, so that's 2 damage to me. But he's still standing. And then we'll retaliate with my field gun. Actually, no, not the field gun. Yeah, we'll do the field gun. But it won't be an optimal range. I don't think. Since okay, so the range is 12 to 24. Since he's too close for 12, I'm assuming that means he's not in the optimal range. Let us know if we're correct on that, or if he just can't shoot at all. So, it'll just be 1 dice. We'll do the AoE shot. So, Y1 versus your 2. And that's a miss. Also a miss, doesn't matter. And then 1 die versus your Crusader. 1.
Okay.
And that will hit on a 4. So, you want to spend a command point?
Yeah, why not?
Alright. 6. Got it. So that misses as well. Alright, moving on. Alright, and then lastly, her last Vanguard will go top speed and try to take a shot on my Chevalier as well. She's using precision. So, and I have partial cover. So it's a 6, 7 for me, and a 5 for her, which is a miss.
6.
And that is the last model activated for her. Alright, on to Nucoal's activation. Just my one Chasseur who's crippled is going to try to tear into the Crusader. And you'll get 3 dice for you, since you have Brawl. And so, my 2 dice, needing 4s. 6, 7, it's a good roll. Versus a 5. So that's a 2 plus 7, so 7, 8, 9. Armor of 8, you take 1 damage.
Okay.
Or 2 damage because it's AP 2. Yeah. Alright, and then we go back to Peace River, activating her Crusaders. Alright, first up, Crusader here is going to brace and try to bring down my Chasseur. And that's a 1 for me. I have no CP to re-roll it. That's a 5, 6, plus the damage of the medium vibroblade.
It's 8.
That'll destroy that Chasseur. Contesting that objective. Alright, moving on to our last one over here. Alright, Crusader's going to fire a snub gun into my Chevalier. 3 dice for partial cover versus her. 3 as well. It's a 6 for me. And a 4 for you, which is a miss. Command point?
Yeah.
Alright. 5, 6. AP of 3, correct?
Yep.
So that is 1 damage to me. Alright, and that is the end of round 4. And we'll go ahead and tally up the points and see who wins. Alright, so Peace River gets 1 victory point for Wipe Them Out. And then I denied her flag points. And then I did not score Wipe Them Out for my objectives, since her 3 warriors are still active. And then she negated me from controlling this point over here. So I get no points. And this is a Peace River victory for 1 victory point. Thanks for watching, guys.